So over the past 10, actually 15 years, I have more than doubled my money in the stock market just by doing the basic thing. When I talk to people who don't know anything about the stock market, they seem afraid. So I just want to explain it. It's pretty simple. Quick disclaimer, before you do anything, you should know that I am not a financial expert. I am actually an idiot. Also, before you do any investing in the stock market, make sure you have an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months living expenses put away in a nice, safe savings account. Maybe even more than that. Okay, now to reveal the not so surprising, relatively safe way to invest in the stock market that I do. Index funds. If you have an emergency fund and you can pay your bills and you have some savings, you could put a good chunk of that in index funds and just let it sit. Ride out the ups and downs, and over time, it will grow at a higher rate than pretty much anything else, unless you're dealing with Bernie Madoff. But that probably won't end well. Well, it didn't. You can't deal with him anymore. But I highly recommend watching Madoff, the Monster of Wall Street, if you really want to learn about the extent of all the things he did. Holy crap, it's so good and terrible. If someone's offering you 18% consistently forever, but you can't know how they do it, it's a Ponzi scheme. Don't do it. But years ago, in my early 30s, I didn't know anything about stocks. I didn't know anything about investing. I just thought of it as like, oh, I'm not some business guy. I'm not someone who works on the floor at the stock exchange like in the movie Trading Places. I don't know what business is going to do well. And then a company called ShareBuilder, through my online bank, gave me an offer to use their program to invest, and they would give me $50. I'm like, Chuck, $50? Good zoink. And so I dabbled. I put a little bit of money in, and I took a quiz that asks you for a risk assessment, how old you are, your income, various basic things, and it recommended some funds for me to invest in. And I did, just a little bit, and then I read more about it. And I learned that the stock market, since its beginnings, I really didn't know any of this. Since its beginnings, if you average the whole thing out, has grown about 10% per year. There have been some terrible times, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, the Great Succession, I don't know. And then I learned there are things called index funds, which match various indexes in the market. What's an index? The NASDAQ, the Dow, the S&P 500, those are ones we talk about a lot here in the United States. Actually, let's go back a little further. What is the stock market? The stock market is a business will make itself public and say, hey, give me money. If you give me the money, I will make profit with your money, and then you can share in that profit. You get a little tiny share, a little tiny ownership of the business. And on the stock market, you can invest directly in businesses, but you don't have to. You can invest in an index. What's an index? An index like the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500 are pools of businesses. They're not all the businesses, but they're select bunch of businesses that are used to measure the stock market as a whole. The S&P 500 is the top 500 companies in the United States, and it pools those together, and that tends to show how the market overall is doing. And since its inception, it has grown 10% per year, which since like the 1950s. Again, has had ups and downs, has had decades of very little or no growth or down growth, degrowth, but over the long haul, 10% per year. And there are index funds that will group together a bunch of businesses to mimic the S&P 500, and you can invest in those index funds. So if you put your money in an index fund that mimics the S&P 500, history has shown that it's going to grow 7 to 10% per year over the long haul if you're willing to wait through downtimes. Of course, past performance is no guarantee of future performance, but it looks pretty good, and if at some point it turns and starts going down and it just goes all the way down to zero, society's going to have other problems, and I don't even know if money's going to matter anymore. So after learning all of this, then I just put a huge chunk of my savings into the stock market, into various index funds. I didn't put it all into one, using the recommendations from ShareBuilder, which doesn't exist anymore. Well, it does exist. It's different now, and I don't recommend it necessarily. I don't know anything about it. It might be good. I don't know what it is. But E-Trade bought the US version of ShareBuilder. So now I use E-Trade just by default on accident. And I like E-Trade, but I'm not recommending that either. There might be better ones. I've only used ShareBuilder and E-Trade. But what I'm saying is, I wish I would have known about index funds and how the stock market works sooner and would have put money in earlier, and it would have grown even more. Because over the past 10 to 15 years, I have more than doubled my money that's sitting there. It's hard to tell exactly because sometimes I take money out. I've taken money out for expenses for our house, which homeownership, not necessarily the best investment it can be. I've done a video about buying homes before. Maybe I should do another one. I've put money in occasionally as well. So I can't tell exactly how much, but it's at least doubled my money. Now, there are fees attached to index funds and there are taxes, so it's more complicated. But in general, it is the best investment I've ever made. I mean, aside from investing in myself, my education, learning how to do video, investing my time in making videos and learning more, and investment in my band of almost 25 years, Driftless Pony Club, the other band I'm currently in, Violet Palms, the podcast, Two Guys Talking About Lettuce, investment in my friend Jake's horror movie, which has just gotten an article written up in Collider, investments in my own health, eating healthy, exercise, investment in growing a family, the most important investment. But as far as monetary investment, making money work for you, everything that all of the articles said that it would do, it did. It worked. I just think it's a pretty solid investment. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't change horses midstream. A bird in a hand is worth two in a bush. If you lie down with dogs, you'll get up with fleas. Do not carry coals to Newcastle. This Wikipedia list of proverbs is very useful for this part of the video. But I recommend finding some sort of online stock service, taking their questionnaire and taking their recommendation. And there are times you really have to stand firm because news about stocks going down tend to be apocalyptic. We're heading to another depression. World War III. There have been times where I've been tempted to be like, ooh, maybe I should take all my money out. And during the pandemic, stocks went down pretty hard. And I really did want to take it out, but I didn't. And it always recovers and goes back to where it was and continues on its upward trajectory. It's less risky because it's lots and lots of businesses. It's not just one. As long as we continue wanting to progress as a society, I think it's going to continue to go up. So I'm telling you this, especially young people, if you happen to have some savings that you can put away, have an emergency fund first, but if you have some savings, it's a pretty darn good investment, just index funds. As you get closer to retirement, they say you should reduce your risk, maybe put it in more solid investments that aren't going to go down for like a decade sometimes. But so far, from my experience, it seems like it just works. Take the advice. Invest in index funds if you have money to invest. And maybe after some time with some money in the stock market, you can experiment with investing in other things. I do invest in some companies directly, and they have grown even more, but that's riskier. There's also day trading if you want to go that route, which good luck to you. History has shown that it's more likely you'll do better just letting your money sit in an index fund than day trading, but you could get lucky and discover you have a gift. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but seems unlikely. And if you're having trouble saving any money at all, I didn't have any money saved at all through most of my 20s. I did turn that around with help from the $20 rule, which is a previous money video that I made that you might want to check out. And another good way to save is to make a budget and possibly to find out about rogue subscriptions that you have. And a company that can help you with that is Rocket Money. Thank you, Rocket Money, for sponsoring this video and for helping me and my wife budget. We really use it, and it has helped us a lot. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel your subscriptions, lower your bills, and manage your money better. And it's so good that it blows my hoodie away. When I first signed up, they saved me $200 a month because they showed me that I didn't cancel some things that I thought I canceled and I wanted to cancel, but I didn't cancel them. And they talked to some other people I was subscribed to and negotiated them down to a cheaper rate. I didn't have to talk to anybody. You know how much I hate negotiating? Well, I'll tell you, for a price, you start the bidding. Wait, I'm gonna get Rocket Money involved. And we continue to use Rocket Money for budgeting. It's the best budgeting app I've ever used. We now have such a good handle on our spending, and we can go really detailed to see what we're spending money on and what we shouldn't be spending money on, because you can automatically monitor your spending by category and get notified when you hit your limits. I love limits so much, but only up to a set point. Seriously, knowing everything we're spending money on, it really feels good. I'm really glad, you guys. Rocket Money has helped save customers over $740 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. To save more and spend less, you can join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. To save less and spend more, you could just continue being a dingus. Go to rocketmoney.com/WheezyWaiter or click the link in the doobly-doo to get started for free. You can also unlock more features with premium, and you can unlock more locks with the right keys or combinations. But that's unrelated. That's rocketmoney.com/WheezyWaiter to get started for free. Okay, thank you, Rocket Money. And thank you for watching. I hope if you are thinking about investing, I have helped you, or maybe someday in the future when you invest, you will be less afraid of the stock market. If you already knew the stuff about the stock market, I hope you felt good pointing at the screen and saying, I already knew that, to everyone else you were watching with. They probably didn't enjoy that. Don't do that in the future. I should make a video about how you shouldn't do that. That is all. In my previous video, I tell you how to get out of a rut. You can support me on Patreon, and
Remember to diversify your portfolios and be stalwart and steadfast and fiduciary business words. Okay.